one of the big stories this past weekend was Josh Emmett knocking out Ricardo Lamas in a matter of seconds in their fight on Fox in Winnipeg this past weekend. I mean, just an absolute vicious knockout, 4 minutes and 33 seconds. It was one of the best of the year, landed right on the button, on the chin. Daniel Cormier going nuts. And it's his first knockout as far as his UFC win career is concerned, his fourth UFC win in 5 fights. And now all of a sudden, as John Anik said on the broadcast, there's a new contender at 145 pounds. So excited to talk to Josh Emmett about that big win. He is kind enough to be joining us via the magic of Skype. That is not Josh Emmett. That is Josh Emmett. Hey, Josh, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on, Ariel.
It is a pleasure. Congratulations to you. So less than 2 days later, what's it feel like? You just scored the biggest win of your career over the biggest name opponent that you faced on Fox, of all places, the biggest platform possible, around 2 million people watching. What's it been like for you?
I don't know. It feels just it feels kind of the same to me. You know, nothing's changed. It's almost like it was a dream. You know, I went out there a week ago. I was cutting the weight. I don't really sleep that much during fight week. Just typical routine. And then now I'm back home, and I'm looking forward to. My wife and I are actually going to Italy. We leave Saturday to go visit my brother.
Oh wow! Which part of Italy?
We're going to land in Rome on Christmas Eve, so we'll be there for Christmas and everything. Then we're just going to work our way up north. So we're going to go to, Tuscany. That's where he's from. He's in the military, so he's stationed out there. Okay. And then he's going to show us around. We'll be in Florence for New Year's, and then we're going to go to Venice, and then eventually make our way up to Milan and fly out of there.
Well, I'm sure this trip is now going to be a little sweeter following the victory this past weekend against Ricardo Lamas. I want to actually start before the actual fight itself. You took this fight on short notice. When you got the call to fight Lamas, of course, he was supposed to fight Jose Aldo. Aldo gets bumped up to fight Holloway after Edgar gets hurt. What was your reaction? Because, you've had, as I said, 4 fights in the UFC thus far, but you've never fought a name like Lamas on a platform like Fox, these kinds of stakes. How did you react to the news?
So the way it all went down is my managers were talking to Sean Shelby about me fighting in January, and they also just threw out there that Lamas needed an opponent. And so they told me this, and then this was, it was at like 10 p.m. at night. So I went to bed. I woke up the next morning, and I called them right back, and I said, hey, forget the January 14th card. I want to fight Lamas. I want that Lamas fight. And so they told Shelby that I was game. And I guess he still went through, everyone in like the top 15, asked them if they wanted to fight. Everyone said no, so it came back to me, and I was the only one that took it. So the ball was in Lamas's court, and it was either fight me on that day, or he had to wait till a later date, to fight a higher ranked opponent. But he went ahead and took the fight, and that's how everything went down.
Were you surprised he said yes?
I don't know. I was and I wasn't. I know Lamas is a real fighter. This has happened to him time and time before. He also has a family. So I was thinking, if I put myself in his shoes, I would probably want to, spend Christmas with my family. I know he has another kid on the way. And he said that in his interviews as well, that he needed to get the nursery ready for January. So I was thinking, I think he is going to take it. And so he has, time to get ready for the new baby.
How much did you weigh when you accepted the fight?
I was like in the high 70s.
Okay.
78, 77.
Any concerns at that point about making the weight, about making 146?
No, not really. There really wasn't. I immediately, got on a super strict diet again, started working out. I lost a ton of weight pretty quick. And then, I was a little heavier going into fight week than I was for the previous fight when I fought in Poland 7 weeks ago. So I was on track, and I don't know, it didn't work out the last few hours of the cut.
So last week in Winnipeg, what Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, were you starting to get concerned? What was it like as you were trying to make your way down in the final hours to 146?
No, I was actually, like I said, I was a few pounds heavier than I was for the Poland fight. I felt pretty good. And it was just Thursday night. We were working out. I took like a few hour break and then went back to the gym at 5 a.m. I was 4.5 pounds over. I had my sauna suit, sweet sweat. We were running. I was on the treadmill for an hour and 10 minutes. Went back to the hotel, did some things. And then I finally checked my weight and I was 3 pounds over. So we kept working and working. And then at that point, I couldn't sweat anymore. And, I stopped sweating. My coaches saw that I was having, a challenge with it. And it was their call. They're like, there's no way, because we rechecked my weight again. And I lost like 4/10 of a pound in 40 minutes. And they're like, with 90 minutes left, we know you cannot lose this weight. There's no point in draining yourself even more to be in a worse position, and you'll still be in the same position. You're not going to make the weight. So I listened to them. I trust in them so much, and I listened to them. But I was so disappointed. It was the first time in my life since I was a little kid wrestling all my fights. I've never not missed weight through college, everything. And it almost felt like a loss to me. I was just had my head down, and I was just kind of, I don't know. It was just such a bad feeling. And they said, keep your head up. Let's go weigh in, and then we'll worry about the fight. That's why we're here. And Lamas still took the fight, so I appreciate him. And like I said before, I apologize to the UFC and the fans and him, of course. And it'll never happen again. I will not take a fight under 4 weeks. And but I think I they took 30% of my purse, so that's more than 20% as usual. And I was excluded from the $50,000 bonus. So I lost a lot of money on this fight. So I think I paid for it.
So is that why you weighed in at around 9:30 local time and not like try to go to the limit, because you knew that you weren't going to lose anything else?
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. I was going to keep going. I had 90 minutes left, and they're like, you're not going to make the weight, because they saw what was going on. And so they said, let's just weigh in now, start hydrating, and we'll worry about the fight.
We saw a couple of weeks ago in Sydney, 4 fighters miss weight, all 4 of them won. And so, I mean, we're talking a couple pounds here, I know, but what do you say to people who say, "Oh, it's not fair. You had an advantage. You didn't exert yourself as much as he did. You went in, you were overweight. Yeah, you missed, out on some paydays, but in hindsight, it wasn't fair." What do you say to those critics? Because you do hear that. I'm sure you've heard that. I saw it a bunch on Twitter afterwards. What do you say to those people?
I definitely hear it. And for a lot of those people, like the tech experts and the naysayers and haters, it's they really don't know anything about fighting. I do not think it's that big of an advantage. I was like drained to my match. I just do not think, maybe I wouldn't have even been able to fight if I kept trying. I still wouldn't have made the weight. And at that point, the doctor that travels with the UFC even said that it was, unsafe to continue to go. I don't think it matters. You see that time and time again where people miss weight by even more weight and they lose the fight as well. So it's kind of a toss up. I'm always actually hoping my opponent misses weight so I can get that 20%. 2 pounds is not going to win or lose a fight. He's been training for since September for one of the best fighters in the world, a legend of the sport. And I trained 2 weeks for the fight, before I went out there and started cutting weight. I was sick for 2 weeks and on antibiotics, and just because I wanted to kick it. I just had a cold that's been going around, and I'm just now getting over it still.
So you said you missed out on the bonus. You typically the UFC doesn't give out a bonus when someone misses weight, and then you had to give them 30%. Is that just a Manitoba thing? That's part of their commission? That's the rule?
No, it was. I think it was due to Lamas's managers. They didn't want the fight after I didn't make the weight. There was no way that they were going to take the fight. And then somehow that got brought up. Well, we want 30% then, and then I don't know. I think maybe the UFC he got a new deal or something out of it too. I'm assuming maybe got a little more money from them as well. But we'll find out soon when the salaries are released.
Yeah. How much did you potentially lose out on if we include the $50,000 bonus?
Rough like 62K.
Okay. And so is it hard to fully enjoy the win because of that hit to the pocket?
Yeah, no, it definitely is. But at this point, the win was more important than the money. And I do it for the money because I want to, like I said before, I want financial freedom. I want to be able to, support my wife and family. And yeah, it was hard. It was, but it was disappointing with the weight cut. So I take full credit for that. And like I said, it will not happen again. But the win was more important at this point. And just to go out there and all the exposure that I got, and then I knew I could win the fight. Like, my teammates, my coaches, family and friends were the only ones counting me in. Everyone else was counting me out because they don't know me. And so I knew I was going to go in there and shock the world. And I did that. And so this will pay dividends over $61,000, $62,000 in the long run. In
a fight, this may be a tough question to answer, but in a fight, have you ever landed a punch that cleanly that had that kind of damage attached to it? I mean, because it was just amazing. Like, that literally was on the button. Did you recall ever landing something that felt so good?
Yeah, I've actually, in some of my earlier fights, I've landed a few big punches with my right hand right on the chin, where I actually fought Christos Yagos. He was, that's right before I got in the UFC. He was a UFC veteran, really tough guy. To this date, he was still one of my toughest opponents. He was the hardest punching individual as well. But during our fight, I hit him a few times right on the chin. And, he was just legs all wobbly and stuff like that. And then I finally put him out in the third round with a big overhand right straight to the chin and dropped him. And, finished the fight that way. But this is just something that my boxing coach and I have been working on, just bringing back the hook. So because I commit to that right hand a lot. And so if I miss with the overhand right, that left hook's following behind. We also knew that Lamas drops that right hand a lot, so the hook would be there, whether it be a check hook or just a regular hook. And he fell right into my game, and I brought it right back, and it was perfect placement. I felt it through the two big knuckles on the glove. I knew the fight was over. As soon as he hit the ground, I just, I'm not gonna, pounce on him and hit him again, because it was done, and there's no need for that.
And that's exactly actually what happened, the way you kind of played it out there. And I got to give you a lot of credit for that, because I know it's easy for someone like myself who sits here, or any fan at home watching, to critique what's happening in the heat of the moment. And it's all happening so fast. There's so much adrenaline and emotion involved. But I thought it was very impressive and commendable that you did not punch him while he was on the ground. It's always very hard to watch that. I was somewhat critical of Francis Ngannou for doing that to Alistair Overeem. It seems like there's a split second where you're kind of aware that, all right, this guy's out. There's no need for that extra punch. Is it hard? Like, are you having an internal dialogue? How did you stop yourself from going in there? Because we've seen more times than not, those punches are thrown in that situation.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I know, like, don't stop until the ref pulls you off. And I've done that in some of my fights before, where I've dropped someone really bad before, but they're not out cold. They turn over, so I pounce on them and I finish with the TKO. But just the way I hit him, I don't know. And in sparring, sometimes you land the cleanest punch and you just know. And so I felt that through my left hand, and I literally saw him just fall back and his head bounce off the ground. And I was just like, that's it. And then I celebrated, of course. And then when I looked back and he was still out, I don't know, that's kind of hard to watch. I can't celebrate anymore. So maybe that takes away from my knockout also. So I have to take a knee and just hope he's okay, because I know his wife and his family and friends and his dad were there. And I can only imagine what they're going through if my wife or my mom or something like that happened to me, So yeah. I just, I don't wish that upon anyone, even my opponent. Like, I always hope I go in there, I get the win, a knockout like that, but we both go home safe, no injuries to our family and friends.
Best feeling of your career, best moment right then when you knocked him out?
Yeah, I guess so. It was, this is the longest I've gone without a finish. And so I knew I was overdue for one, and I kept saying, hey, I'm going to get one on Saturday. I wanted to go in there, and I wanted to do what the current and former champion couldn't do to Lamas, and I did it in the first round. I know where I stack up. I've been with Team Alpha Male for over a decade, and I know I'm one of the best fighters in the world. Uriah told me that when I was 2-0 as a pro. He said, "You're one of the best fighters in the world, just nobody knows it yet." And I've took the hard road. It's so much adversity. I've been so much injuries, and I've thought time and time again, should I keep doing this? Should I keep pursuing it? But my goal was always to get in the UFC, and then once I got here, I'm not going to stop until I'm a world champion.
Well, it's paying off. Uriah was right. There's no doubt about that. And so now, you're in that exclusive club. You beat Ricardo Lamas. You enter into a whole new stratosphere. If it was up to you, what do you want next? What do you think makes sense? There's not a lot of room there between Lamas and, the top dog, Max Holloway. So what makes sense? What are you expecting?
So my thought is, I want to be a world champion, like I said. So if something was presented to me, like a title shot, like I said, I'll take that in a heartbeat. But I know Edgar and Holloway, they're in talks of fighting. I think Edgar has definitely earned it. And so what makes most sense to me is maybe Brian Ortega and I fight. The winner of us gets the winner of Edgar Holloway.
All right. I like it. All of a sudden, there's like a changing of the guard at 145. It really feels like this past month has highlighted that. Holloway winning first week of December, and then Ortega, and then you. There's some new faces, coming on the scene. And so you're kind of calling for a little bit of a mini tournament. I like that.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I was actually at that Fresno card. It's 3 hours from Sacramento. So I got to see Cub and Ortega fight live, and some other great fights on the card as well. But I totally agree with you. And like I said, this is my time, and this is what I've been wanting for so long. And I knew it would come eventually. I had to just keep chipping away and grinding at this. What I've been chasing, and it's here, and that's why I seized the opportunity. I pounced on that the opportunity to fight Lamas, and I can't wait to see what 2018 holds for me.
Congratulations, Josh! Great performance, great finish, one of the great finishes of the year. Happy for you. I know it's been a long road to get to this point. So enjoy the victory, enjoy the holidays, and I too am very curious to see what happens to you in 2018. So best of luck next year, and thank you for the time here today after the big victory.
Thanks for having me on. I knew it was a matter of time also.
Yes. Looking forward to the next one. Thank you, Josh. All the best. There he is, Josh Emmett, coming off that gigantic, vicious knockout